What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more. Welcome back, everybody, to Advice from a Call Center Geek. This is episode 3. Advice from a Call Center Geek is where we tackle all things contact center and call center, whether it has to do with operations, technology, hiring, confrontation in your call center. If it has to do with the call center or about the call center, we try to take it on and give you some actionable items that you can take back to not only improve the quality of your center, but also to improve the customer experience, which I guess is kind of the whole point of this, right? So again, my name is Tom Laird. I'm the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing. Expivia is a call center outsourcer located here in Pennsylvania. And what I'd like to do with this podcast is, again, take my 25 years of experience in the contact center industry and try to help some of you out there that may be new to the industry or looking for some other kind of tools and tactics to bring back. So kind of tagging off of episode 1, where we discuss 7 ways that your call center stinks. One of the big topics and the big reasons why we see, call center struggle is the education. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. Last episode we went really in depth into culture and how to hire the best call center associate. So, let's assume that your culture's good. Let's assume that you've hired your class of associates, and now what the heck do you do with them, right? From a training aspect. So let's start with the first thing, which is I hate the word train. We used to work for MBNA way back in the day in the, I guess, early 90s. And, they talked about you educate people and you train animals. And that's something that kind of always stuck with me. So I really won't use the word training too much. It'll be more of an education. But I think that, that's something that is a culture thing with us. So what I want you to think about here is, how are you educating your new associates? Do you have a specific onboarding plan for them? Once you get through training, how are you doing in getting your reps to succeed and to rise to different levels and higher levels with ongoing training in your call center? So those are some of the things I want to talk about. So let's first talk about initial training. We see here in our center, and I know that this is kind of a national average, that most turnover happens in the first 90 days of hiring. When we don't do, or when a call center does not do a very good job with the full onboarding process, you end up spinning your wheels. So what I want to talk about today is kind of an all-inclusive 90-day plan for a new hire call center associate to make sure that we're giving them the best chance to succeed, and we're not spending too much money on our turnover costs and spinning our wheels, rehiring and retraining. So from an initial training, one of the biggest mistakes that we see is it goes too fast, right? And that's pretty obvious. But we see a rush to program train and not enough time spent instilling culture, talking about the things that are really going to make the associate successful no matter what program they're on. So it's less talking about the program. It's more talking about the individual. It's talking about policies, procedures. It's trying to instill the culture of your organization upon them. What's accepted, what's not. We like to discuss, and this all happens kind of in the first 30 hours of training. So say it's the first 3 or 4 days. We like to talk about legal stuff, right? So everything from sexual harassment to DNCs to TCPA laws, things that they will probably don't ever have to know. But I think it becomes an advantage when we talk to our customers about all the things that our associates understand. So the other big kind of deal that we talk about after we talk about the culture and the security and the kind of the legal aspects is we really, really, really take this time to educate on tone. We have our culture here at Expivia, if you listen to the last episode, is a sunshine attitude with an entrepreneurial mindset that boils down to attitude and effort. And tone is a really big piece of that. So it's not just good enough to come to work, read a script or talk to a customer. it's what type of tone. We actually believe, and we have messages or we have signs all throughout our call center that the tone actually is the message, right? So it's more of how you're doing it than really even what you're saying. So, we want to work on that. We want to understand, the whole, talking with the smile on your face. We want to fix any type of street language, any type of millennialisms, maybe that kind of creep into everyday language. There's a culture of how we speak and how we speak on the phones that you need to instill, and that's different in every call center. I just bought a Peloton and I called their customer support and I thought they did a great job. And they were a little younger and they said things like, that's awesome and cool. And, I'm super excited for that. And, those types of more conversational, where, you might be a more conservative organization where it's yes, sir, no, sir, thank you. Those are the things that are appropriate for you. So, that's a culture thing. And those are things that you need to instill in that first piece of training. So, once we get through that kind of the first, policies, procedures, making sure that we understand culture, making sure that they understand how to speak and what's accepted of them, we'll get into the program training. For our clients, most of our training, has a window of 4 to 6 weeks, right? It's a really long time. When you talk about especially a new hire that's kind of new to this whole, call center operation thing. So we got to make sure, and we believe, and again, this is a culture thing for us, but we believe that you need to have fun in the training room. The atmosphere needs to be light. Your trainer can't be just a school teacher that drones on, right? They have to understand the room. They have to understand when they're going too far with material, play a game, do something silly. It's really important to us that, we're not just, preaching a program, but we're trying to instill, again, I keep saying it, instill culture into everything that we do. And that's, that attitude and effort that matters with our trainers as well. So even as you go and you get into program training and you start, a screen training where you say, if the customer says this, you want to go to this screen, you want to click here, you want to click on that, make sure you go there, ask them this question. After every single time that you give these examples, role play the little pieces of it and make sure that all the things that you talked about with tone, with delight, with how they're supposed to be saying it, gets stressed right along with what you're pressing and clicking. So don't forget that. Those aren't kind of separate separate things that you want to just remember in the beginning. That's got to happen the whole way through. Do a lot of role playing, and I know that you all know that, right? That's kind of like the scrimmage. Again, I'm a sports guy. And then the thing that matters, I think, too, is test these guys. And I know not everybody's really good at testing, but, make sure that you come up with some type of testing for each either module or each day that you can kind of break down. I don't believe it's good to do an overall final test of all the material. I mean, you can do that, but I think it's more important that you kind of drill down on each separate, kind of module and kind of help them with that. So then, after these guys get trained, it's very important that you don't throw them out into the middle of a floor and say everything's good. If you really want to do this right, say that training was 4 to 6 weeks. We did another week before, so we're about 7 weeks into this thing, or going into our second month. So we want to spend a couple weeks in we call our incubation room. And the incubation room for us is right off the call center floor. We have a controlled environment. We have QA staff that's right there with them. We have we don't go above an 8-to-1 ratio for our supervisors. And most of the time it's with trainers in there, it's about a 4-to-1 ratio when you're talking about incubation. So once we feel, if this is an ongoing program and this program's already out on the floor, if there's an individual that's a little bit ahead of everybody, feel like they're comfortable, then we can kind of take them out to the floor. We introduce them to their team. Everybody kind of shakes their hand, gives them a high five. We kind of set their booth up where it's kind of special just for them. And we want to make sure that, they feel like, they've done something really successful. They've done a really good job. So, you can do things as well. If a full class is coming out that they've all graduated, we've done that too as well with, giving certificates of training. Those types of things are any type of excuse you have to kind of throw a little bit of a party or do a celebration. I think is really important. And, that kind of leads us to, I guess, the next piece is we really do believe in that whole ceremonies and certificates. And if you do a really good job, it needs to be recognized. So if you do have a full class coming out and you have a teams already on the floor, to give them a standing ovation and kind of high five them as they're coming out with balloons. And, we've done things like, having balloons out on the floor. And if anybody did a, really good job on a call, or after they took their first call, they pop a balloon to kind of say, I'm ready to go with this. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with education, and especially from the initial standpoint. So those are some of the things that we like to do. But, one of the things that I just want to stress is don't rush it. Make sure that not only you're giving the individual a chance to succeed, but also make sure that they're a fit, right? Your first 90 days is a good reason or a good way to see if they're a fit for your culture as well. So having said that, right, that's an initial train and some kind of little tips, I guess, for there. One of the things that we do from an ongoing training, and we do a bunch of things with this. We're very, we really believe in the education of the associates and the ongoing education of the associates. So we do weekly education. So every single week we pay, and we don't bill our clients. We pull each rep off each program, and we have it scheduled with our workforce management to talk about specific soft skills, right? So we do weekly education, not so much on program training. Now, if there's something big we need to cover, we'll cover it, but pretty much on soft skills, how to talk, making sure that we're listening to their calls and playing them back for really good tone and delightful calls. So that's one of the things you can do. But to drill down to this and to really, I think, help the individual, one of the things that we've done and I think needs to be implemented in a lot of different call centers, and this can really help you, is to do a weekly agent analysis program. So this is kind of the bridging of QA to the supervisor to the rep. And it provides not only instant or, I guess, feedback for the associate, but also gives them a roadmap for their success. So I guess you can really add in a little bit of an HR element to this as well. So how this works is every single week we pull our reps for 15 minutes with their supervisor. So the supervisor will pull them. And I know a lot of you say, oh my gosh, 15 to 20 minutes off the phone. And I would say, without doing this, I would be scared that they're on the phone without some type of plan, without making sure that we've given them some type of weekly evaluation of where they are. The first thing that we do is we review. We talk about the past week. What were their quality? What were their sales goals? What were their conversion goals? Did they meet those goals that we've given them from the previous week? Now, we're going to touch base with these guys every day as well, but this is more of a off the floor. Let's just breathe for a second and let's really talk about some of those things. We're going to have our supervisors give them specific, examples on how they can help, such as, Janie, we talked last week about your closing signals on your calls. I think you've done a really good job with this. Yesterday with that customer, you did this, blah, blah, blah. Make sure your supervisors are prepared for this and really take the time to understand each rep, what their goals are and where they are in the process. The second thing that we like to do, and this is kind of in the middle, right, is address, right? So the first one, we're going to review, talk about what they did last week, talk about the goals we give them, how are they progressing down that road. Number two, we're going to address any issues, right? So we have a pretty strict, we're unlike a lot of call centers where we actually have a dress code. Guys are in shirts and ties, and females have a specific dress code as well. So we're going to talk about dress code. We're going to talk about any HR policies that come up at this point. HRs, again, they're dealing with these guys every day, but this is a time when we can have a little bit of a conversation on what's going on. We're going to discuss our culture, right? We're going to touch if there's any attitude or effort issues. Or for reps, we like to have fun, but if there's some issues around that and how they're talking to people or how they're interacting on the floor, we're gonna discuss that. And number three is goal planning, right? So we reviewed last week. We've addressed any issues. Now we're going to make it a little lighter, and we're going to talk about a specific goal for that individual. These goals should be different for everyone. So your top performers, you should be stretching the highest level of what can happen on a program. But if somebody's newer on the floor, if somebody's struggling, let's get them to get a little bit of success, right? Let's not give them the overall program goal, but make sure that your stars have the higher goals and expectations, and your lower reps, let's get them up to that star level, or try to get them to the bottom of that level. be pretty specific with this. Yes, last week you did a 3.5 on your QA. Let's really reach for that 3.7 or a 4.0 on your QA for this week. Is that a pretty good goal? Make sure that the associate kind of agrees with that goal as well, so that you have a plan that's not just kind of being edict to them, but that they understand. And then the fourth one, which is a little different, but I think it's really, really cool, is progression. So we're going to come up with a plan for where this associate wants to be in 30, 60, 90, a year from now. Do they want to be a supervisor? Do they want to be a management trainee? Do they want to get out of the call center totally because they have an IT background and they want to go to IT? Do they want to work for another company? Yes, I said that. We have, kids that, when I say kids, employees in their early 20s, that this might be their first job. They have a degree, and their overall goal is to do something else, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, and we can help them with that. So when we do that, if they want to maybe, hey, can I spend a couple minutes or a day or two in your IT area to see that stuff? I think I'm really interested in that. Hey, I'm really interested in becoming a management trainee. What do I need to do? And we're going to come up with a plan for them on how they can progress through the company, or even outside the company. And I think that that's something that's really important when it comes to turnover, is to be able to show progression, show how they can make more money, and even maybe almost more important than that, how they can add to their leadership skills from that aspect. So that's really important. And then the fifth piece of this is to document everything. So we have our own kind of format that we've created online. That's kind of our own Expivia intranet that we can input all this information to, and it's all set up. But you don't need that. You don't have to have it. An Excel spreadsheet works just as well when we were just starting out. But make sure that this is documented. Make sure it's somewhere that the associates can go look at it. It won't be a surprise then when you're giving your daily goals, and some of the things that you talked about are on those daily goals. So I think that's a big piece of this. There's some other things that we do from an ongoing education, but I think those are the two really big ones. Is one, being able to pull the associates, give them some soft skill training, really all the time. And three, develop an agent analysis program where you're putting your associates on a track to be successful. The last thing that we do here that I think can really benefit you is we do a management trainee program, which I'm going to do a separate podcast on to kind of discuss some of the things that we do with that. So we don't really just pull agents right off the floor and make them supervisors. They go through a 3 to 6 month program that makes them understand the difference of the job of where they came from, where they were an individual, to now focusing on a team and leading a team and trying to get everybody up to their standards or the standards of the company. So, that's something that we will discuss as well. With that comes with some off-site legal training and some other kind of really cool things that we do with that. But I hope that this kind of helps. This is a big reason again why a lot of call centers struggle. Right? They don't really grasp the full training aspect of what needs to happen to make reps successful, or they do a really good job in the beginning and then they drop the ball as the life cycle of the rep happens. And when it's 30, 60, 90 days down the road and nobody's really told them or talked to them about improvement or given them some type of plan, things either stay stagnant or they kind of drop. So again, I appreciate it. I hope that this was helpful. Again, if you are interested, I do have a book. It's called, shockingly, Advice from a Call Center Geek. Just Google it on Amazon. It'll pop up. It's super cheap, but it'll give you, again, some of these items in writing that we're discussing here, and try to help you and can kind of get you a little ahead of the curve here too as we go down and go through the book and talk about some of the things that I think are really important in the contact center. So my name is Tom Laird. I'd love to have you please subscribe to the podcast here. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me, my email is tlaird@expivia.net. Please feel free to do that. And again, I really appreciate the viewing, or I guess the listening. Our next podcast here, we're going to be discussing kind of the management piece of it that we discussed about management cultivation, how to deal with confrontation in your call center, management training programs, and how to really get your middle management to do a great job for you. So again, thank you very much. It's 12/20/2018 here, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.